comes to us from Mark chapter 7, verses 31 through 37. Jesus heals a person who is deaf and has a speech impediment. Then Jesus returned from the region of Tyre and went through Sidon to the Sea of Galilee, through the region of Decapolis. And they brought to him one who was deaf and had a speech impediment. And they besought Jesus to lay his hand upon the person. And taking that person aside from the multitude privately, Jesus put his fingers into the person's ears and spat, and touched the person's tongue. And looking up to heaven, Jesus sighed and said, Ephphatha, that is, be opened. And the person's ears were opened, the tongue was released, and the person spoke plainly. And Jesus charged them to tell no one. But the more he charged them, the more zealously they proclaimed it. And they were astonished beyond measure, saying, Jesus has done all things well, even making those who are deaf to hear, and those who are mute to speak. May God add understanding to the reading of the gospel. Amen. Please be seated. Well, I've been out of the pulpit for 2 weeks. Roy preached one Sunday, and then last Sunday we worshiped at First Church of Mattress Flats and slept in while we were on vacation. It was a much-needed break and very well enjoyable time off. And I come back ready to get to work on reading the scriptures and seeing what we're going to preach about this Sunday, and I got dealt nothing. The biggest thing, the biggest excitement in all the research that I did was Jesus traveled several thousand, they said, feet out of his way. They meant a few miles. He went due south to go due north. That was the entire piece that I found. So I guess Jesus lost his way a little bit. I didn't say that. God, I thank you that you have called me to be your instrument this morning. I ask that you remove me from myself and replace that with the movement of your Holy Spirit within me. Anoint the ears of those who would hear a message today, that the message they hear would be what you have for them on their faith journey today. Amen. And Jesus charged them to tell no one. But the more he charged them, the more zealously they proclaimed it, and they were astonished beyond measure, saying, Jesus has done all things well, even making those who are deaf to hear, and those who are mute to speak. The gospel today tells a story of a very long journey that Jesus had made to be in the location where he would encounter this deaf and mute person. And Jesus, trying to show compassion for the man and his infirmity, took him off to the side to perform this miracle. He was doing his best not to draw attention to the man and his problems in life. And I would probably say the rather bizarre thing of spitting and touching a man. It's weird. Jesus did this out of an abundance of respect for the individual, according to biblical scholars. However, I think it was done a little bit differently. Jesus, the great showman, was developing here a new marketing tool. Jesus was telling people, I'm going to take this person off to the side and privately and quietly do this and heal this person. And Jesus performed that miracle and then told those present, don't go talk about this. Keep it quiet. It's our little secret. Jesus knowing that the people would go forth from that gathering and proclaim to everybody they met that Jesus had done so well to make this deaf and mute man well. The people that witnessed the miracle could not contain their excitement, and they wanted to tell everybody. It's like when you're told a really big secret. When you go someplace and it's absolutely wonderful restaurant, and you just got to go out and tell everybody. And you tell everybody with great excitement in your voice, and you're smiling, and you're talking about the wonderful new place you've just found, or the great experience that you've just had. They shared the experience with great joy, and that joy caused others to want to come to meet this person called Jesus. A marketing tool. Think about that. That was the very way that they were going forth and making disciples of others. If you go to a church and it's nothing but doom and gloom and sadness, and the preacher's just an awful little you don't want to go back, and you're not going to go tell anybody about that church. But if you go there and they could have a little bit of fun, maybe have a little bit of a laugh, you're going to go out and tell other people. And they're going to want to go. And that's how you make disciples. They took the personal experience of their Jesus and shared it with such joy and gusto that others could not help but want to experience that same thing. The perfect slice of cheesecake. The perfect apple pie. The best, greasiest hamburger and fries you can find. And there you have it. That's what we're called to do. When we experience something good and great beyond ourselves, we should shout it to the mountaintops and share it in a way and with that same joy and gusto that the people of that day did. If you come to church and you pray for something to happen and it happens, tell people. We're quick to say, well, I prayed for my mother to be cured, but she died anyway. Where was God in that? But when you sit here and you pray for a woman like we did for Carolyn for weeks and weeks and weeks after her diagnosis with cancer, and then she sends a note to us, I just had my checkup and I'm now cancer-free. You go out and share that joy. Don't keep it to yourself. Use it as a marketing tool. Use it as something to bring people into another relationship with Jesus. When we do that, it brings others to an awakening within themselves to find their own relationship with a greater power, their own personal Savior, their own greatness. It is within those moments of our lives that we should be sharing the most with others. Life is more than just doom and gloom. Life is meant to be enjoyed and lived to the fullest. Some of you are probably asking right now, what do we have to be joyous about in this day and age? Good Lord, this week, funeral after funeral for some big person, John McCain. His little daughter. That little girl got up and said some things she shouldn't have said. Amen. And then I watched something else that was fun. I didn't watch a funeral for Aretha Franklin. I watched a concert. I watched a great concert. I watched somebody talking about when they die and go to heaven and how you're going to find each other. And the person that was talking said, your body's not going to go to heaven. How are you going to know what your mother looks like, what your friend looks like, your lover looks like? And this person said, tell them I'll meet you at the exchange counter. Well, what the hell is the exchange counter? Right after you meet St. Peter, you walk into this counter and you turn over your cross and you pick up your crown and you walk with the royalty that you now have. But the good thing is we don't have to wait till the end. We can do it now with joy and excitement in our hearts. Things may be tough, things may be difficult, and they may look dark. But if you're willing to open your eyes, you can find such beauty that exists in our world and in our lives if you're just willing to look for it. And then you must be willing to celebrate it and to share it. If you think about it, we in this church talk often about the power of prayer and the healing effects of that prayer and what it can hold. That really is what we need to be going forth from this place and proclaiming out in the streets to the people, to share the power of that joy with everyone that we meet. Share that joy with random acts of kindness and compassion. Share it by giving a smile to a person you don't even know. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free. You know, out where we live, we have some pretty undesirable neighbors. But we try to smile. They use very colorful language. We try to smile. It doesn't cost me anything. I'm sure they look over at me like, what is that crazy old man doing? That's all right. When they want to know what the crazy old men are doing or the crazy old women are doing, they start researching it. They start looking around and saying, why is that person happy? Why are they willing to smile today? What do they have that I'm missing? We must live our lives in the joy of the truth of the Gospels, of the teachings of Jesus Christ. We must discard the garbage that we hold and that holds us back and keeps us down, so that others will learn from our example and will want to follow us on our journey. If we walk around with a frown on our face, then who wants to follow our journey? If we walk around and tell people how awful life is, who wants to join us in our life? Again, if you walk around with happiness, with that bounce in your step and a smile on your face, people are automatically drawn to your journey, and they want to stay with you and walk with you. That doesn't mean that they will follow in your footsteps on your journey, but that's not what it's really about. It's about them finding their own journey, finding their own bounce in their step, finding their own centered heart and their own peace of mind. It's not your job to describe the journey that anybody should be taking. Think about it, folks. For years we've been an oppressed people because people have told us what journey to take. I'd rather create my own journey than fall in the pit holes that they would put before me. There's greater things that we can find for ourselves than what society wants to dish out. Share your stories with people you meet along life's journey, and do so with a childlike joy. Do so with a giddiness and an excitement. You know how some people get now that it's football season? Woo, pig suey. Dumbest dang thing I ever heard in my life, but hey, it worked, I guess. It brings the bucks into town, so we go for it. Roll Tide, roll. They're excited. It's like they not only drank the Kool-Aid, they're swimming in a whole pool of the Kool-Aid. And that's good. That's good. They found a place of excitement and contentment and joy. And we need to be doing the same thing.
Amen.
Could you imagine if we walked out of here and everybody looked at us and said, why are you happy? And you could say, I'm happy today because I know that our church is meeting this coming Sunday. I'm happy today because I know that next Sunday we kick off our food drive to feed those who are in need. I'm happy because I get to do something great. I'm happy because I know my way to an exchange counter. I'm happy because I've seen the pink Cadillacs lined up. I'm happy because I've met the brave warrior. I'm happy because I've met the person who was beaten and tortured and lied in isolation. I've been there at times. We've all been there at times. But you know what? We came out of the darkness and into the light. And no one can take that light away from us. What's that song? This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. I would sing for you, but there is a God. So I will not torture you. Let your light shine. Go out and tell the people about your relationship with Jesus Christ as if you've got the greatest secret on earth. Because you do. That secret is your life, your centeredness, your heart, and your salvation.